Hack the Entrepreneur is part of Rainmaker FM, the digital business podcast network. Find more great shows and education at rainmaker.fm. Hack the Entrepreneur is supported by Citi Cards with Android Pay. Listening on your phone? Now you can pay while you listen using the same device. Just tap and go. Download the Android Pay app on Google Play or visit citi.com/androidpay to get started. Android Pay is available for eligible Citi consumer credit and debit cards.
Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Welcome back to Hack the Entrepreneur. I'm John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was quite a few years back when I heard today's guest on the Copy Blogger podcast, Internet Marketing for Smart People, one of my favorite podcasts of all time. On this particular show, he was talking about selling and writing copy, and he said something that I can so clearly remember. He said, when you're writing an ad or trying to market your product, don't tell me about your weed killer. Tell me about my crabgrass. Now, that may be a fairly insignificant statement, but it's one of those statements that has come back to me every single time a copywriter has ever shown me new sales copy or a new landing page, or even oftentimes when I'm writing a blog post. My guest today writes an email every day to his list. I've been on his list for over 4 years, and I still read nearly every single one of them. He's an email specialist that charges $15,000 and up to write email campaigns for clients. He's an author and self-proclaimed anti-professional. I've learned a ton about sales and marketing from this guy, and I am really happy to have him on the show today. Now, let's hack Ben Settle. Before we get rolling here, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Braintree. I know you remember the first dollar you made in business. It's a hard thing to forget. It's one of the greatest parts of being an entrepreneur. And now you want to grow until your business makes your millionth or billionth dollar. But have you found the right payments partner to grow with you? Braintree lets you accept every way to pay, from PayPal to Apple Pay and everything in between. All it takes is one simple integration. And it doesn't matter what currency your customers use, because Braintree lets you accept over 130 of them. To learn more about how you and your company can grow with Braintree, visit braintreepayments.com/hack. That's braintreepayments.com/hack. Welcome back again. This is going to be good. I've been reading this guy's emails for a long, long time, and everybody should be, because the guy's got a lot to teach. But Ben, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, John. Like I was telling you, I really appreciate you inviting me on.
That means a lot. But let's jump right into this. So Ben, as an entrepreneur, can you tell me what specifically do you do that you think other people don't, that has been a big contributor to your success?
Okay, I can tell you the number one thing, as far as I can tell, would be consistency and just being relentless about going after the things I want. And it shows up even in how I market myself. I'm an email guy, and I mail relentlessly and aggressively, and I'm just consistent. And there's a lot of power in consistency. Dude, it's funny that you asked this, because I just was watching this movie a couple days ago called, it was a Steve McQueen movie called Nevada Smith, which is like a dorky name for a very cool movie. And it's just about this guy. He's a very ordinary dude. His parents get killed. This is the Old West. And he just goes after the killers. He has no skills. He has no weapons. He has no food, water, or anything. He just relentlessly goes after these killers. And they start getting kind of scared of him, because he's just so relentless. It's not like he has any talent or anything, but he scares these guys that he's hunting because he's so relentless. And that's kind of a model for how I do my business, which is why I love that movie probably so much. But that would be it. That would be the number one thing.
Great. I love it. And I mean, absolutely. You email daily, do you not, still, to this point?
Yes. sometimes a couple times a day, which is a big taboo, in the internet marketing world. Oh, you can't do that. I do it because if you do it and you do it in a way that people don't mind reading it, why not? Especially if it's adding sales to your bottom line.
Keep to you and you as the entrepreneur. Can you tell me about how or when it was you realized that you were just stuck as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. When I was in high school, I've always kind of hated authority, but when I was in high school, I had an uncle who was in Amway, which is a big network marketing company. And he wanted to like pre-recruit me into it for when I was going to be old enough to do it on my own. So I was like 16, 17. I think you have to be 18 to join those companies. I don't know, at least at that time. And he used to give me these books and tapes and stuff that weren't really about Amway, but just about self-improvement and about business and that kind of thing. And I really appreciate him doing that because it made me realize I can't be in a job forever. I mean, I had to get a job when I got out of college and everything, but I immediately started to think of ways that I could work for myself because I really don't like having people having power and authority over me like that. I want to control my own income. I want to control my own hours. I want to control when I can go take a vacation, or if I just don't want to do anything. If I just want to lay around all day, I want to be able to do it. If something happens and it hurts my income, I want it to be my fault. If something happens and my income goes up, I want it just to be, it's not because I had to listen to someone else. I wanted to make my own mistakes and get there on my own, because I really do think that you can't really succeed unless you make a lot of mistakes. And if, in a job, you're punished for making mistakes. In your own business, you're actually rewarded for it if you take the lessons and run with it and take it all to heart.
Nice. Very nice. That was an excellent segue into where I want to go. So making mistakes, and when you make mistakes and they're your own and it's your own business, you can learn from them. And I agree fully that you can't succeed at business without making mistakes. Can you, from anything you've learned in your business and just in your life, can you walk us through how to be wrong?
Well, I'm an expert at being wrong. So I'm a world-class expert at being wrong on a lot of things. So yeah, I mean, you can be wrong. Just it's not like, when I say mistakes, it's not like you're doing things that are going to devastate your life or your business or anything, or necessarily even hurt other people. You're just trying different ideas. You're throwing ideas against the wall, and you're going to see what sticks. And a lot of stuff won't stick, and that means it doesn't work. For example, we'll take the email thing. A lot of people would say, don't email very often, or only email when you have something to say or when you have something to sell and all that. And that's what people still do in a lot of cases. Well, I started doing it more often just to see what would happen. Now, that wasn't a failure, but the failure came in that it took me so long to actually try it and test it on my own. I just kept stubbornly resisting the idea, like a lot of people do. And that was a mistake, but I profited from that mistake over time, because eventually I started noticing, well, shoot, this isn't really working. Let me try this other thing. Let me try this more frequently. Let me try it in a style, in my own personality, for example. Let me be more abrasive when I need to be abrasive. And as sometimes I get in my emails, and we were talking about this before, I don't get abrasive just to everyone, but if somebody's being abrasive to me, I'll be abrasive back. I'm not going to let somebody just walk all over me, because that's what a lot of people do. They just, something happens and they get yelled at by a would-be customer or something. They sit there and bend over backwards to kiss the guy's ass. And I'm thinking, no, why would I don't want customers like that are abusive. So I started experimenting doing that. I've experimented being nice. I've experimented being probably over the top mean. I've kind of experimented with what I do now, which works. But I had to go through the mistakes first to get to where I'm at now, where I understand what I'm doing and have a clear philosophy behind how I run my business.
So everybody was, especially in the internet marketing, was don't email every day. You can't do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever, in other parts or in your business, not just in the way you email people, but do you ever just like, well, everybody's saying this and everybody's doing this. You ever like, I'm just going to try the opposite and see if that sticks?
Absolutely. Let me think of a good example here for you. I mean, I maybe this is a little tactical or whatever, but everybody's like has a lot of bells and whistles on their websites. I mean, you look at a lot of websites, they're pretty fancy looking. People use video and all this other stuff. I still use plain text. You
do. You really do. Yeah.
Because it works. I mean, it doesn't, I could do all that stuff, but that would be to me a waste of time because I don't like doing it. For example, you're probably more of an audio guy. We're doing an audio interview, but there's some people that like to do video interviews and that kind of thing. But if you sat there and tried to do video and you don't like doing it for whatever reason, it would be a mistake. It would be like you'd realize real quick that's not what you want to do. And you would kind of go back to audio. And people might say, well, yeah, but you should be doing video interviews. That's what everybody's doing. But you're like, no, I'm good at the audio stuff. I'm much better at it. And my people I interview prefer it, or whatever the reasons are. So that's kind of another example of just doing it different from everybody else.
I really like audio because I don't like to wear pants when I work. So this really works a lot better
We're
for
both
me.
sitting here naked in front of our computers right now.
Exactly. So it's really awkward when somebody calls on video by accident. All right, Ben. So you email every day. Besides email every day, how often do you work? What kind of work schedule are you on these days?
Well, that depends. Some days I work 8, 9, 10 hours. Some days I don't work at all. Today, for example, I haven't done a thing today. I'll talk to you.
Nice.
And I probably won't do a thing. In fact, what I'm going to do for my email, because I like to send an email every day, as we've talked about, for tomorrow's email, I'm going to go back in my archives of emails I've already sent like a year ago, and I'm going to find one I can just recycle for today. That'll be my work day, because I want to go to some wineries later today, because I live in an area where there's wineries and tasting rooms, and that's what I feel like doing. So after this call, I'm going to go get ready, and I'm going to take my copywriting apprentice. I've taken an apprentice on recently.
Really?
We're going to get some Mexican food, and we're going to go do some wine tasting, and my apprentice will be taught something about copywriting, probably. Who knows? There's lessons everywhere. But that's the day. Some days you can do that. Now, yesterday I worked a lot. I put a lot of hours in. I did. I was working all kinds of stuff. Tomorrow I'll probably do all kinds of work, because I want to put an autoresponder sequence together for a sale I'm going to be doing during Labor Day weekend. That'll be a time-consuming, kind of tedious thing, but I'm going to do it. But today I'm not. So it really just depends on kind of where I'm at mentally on each day. I do like to do something productive every day. I mean, like I'm doing this show with you. I consider this productive. But it's so eclectic, man. There's really no like set way of how I do things. I don't get up at the same time every day. I don't go to bed at night the same time. I don't work the exact same hours. I just kind of feel my way through the week. In fact, I'll tell you what I do is I have a 3x5 note card, and I just divide it up in 5 days, Monday through Friday. And I just write down, there's certain things I know I need to do for the week, and I'll just kind of write it down, each thing into its own day. Sometimes I don't get everything done that day, and sometimes I move it to the next day. Sometimes I'll do everything on Monday that I could have done Tuesday and Wednesday, and I'll have a couple days where I don't have much to do. It really just depends on my energy levels and where I'm at.
I love it. I absolutely 100% agree with you on that. And I don't know, like if it's just me, or Ben, did you have trouble, say early on in your career online, coming to terms with living and working the way you are now, that's okay to do?
Man, I was okay with it before I had it. I mean, I knew this is what I wanted. I'll tell you, and here's the irony of it. When I got out of college for 6 years, I was a major in radio and television. So that's kind of the way I wanted to go that way. I ended up getting a job duplicating videos. So like I was if back then they had videotapes, because like VHS tapes. And you know how you'd buy a VHS tape of a movie or a documentary or something? I was one of the guys who would duplicate that tape so that it could be sold. I loved that job. I really did. I still think back, great memories of that job. But I knew I didn't want to do it forever, and I wanted to do my own thing still. So I was prepared for it and excited for it to happen, and I've never had to come to terms with it or anything. It's okay. I don't think the other way is okay, where people spend their whole life working for other organizations and people. I mean, you have to do what you have to do, but overall, I would think people would want to liberate themselves from that and work for themselves. I've heard this statistic, and I don't know how true it is, but I heard it from a reliable source, that when America, and I know that people listening to this are all over the place, but in America's case, when it was first founded, 90% of the people worked and thought for themselves, and only 10% really worked for other various jobs and stuff. Now it's the opposite. Now it's only maybe 10% work for themselves, and 90% of people work for someone else in some manner. And I heard that like 55% of those 90% are working for an organization with 500 or more people. So you have an entire country that's beholden to big bureaucracies right now. I can't think of a more miserable existence. I really can't. You know,
Either can I. And I don't know. I mean, it's such a shocking statistic, and I've totally noticed this myself. And I agree that I don't think that people should be living that way. It's no way to live. Do you like? To you, why is it going this way? Why is our society? I mean, Canada is the same. I'm sure our statistic is almost bang on yours. We're really
Okay.
we like to say we're so independent, but really we're not. We're very much American.
Yeah.
Like, why is that? What's going on?
I'll tell you why. In America, on the 4th of July, which is called Independence Day here, because that's when they celebrate America's independence from England. It's never, nobody calls it Independence Day anymore. It's called the 4th of July. And by the way, I got this statistic from this guy, Ken McCarthy. He's like one of the founding fathers of internet marketing. He has this book called The System Club Letters, and this is in that book. And so is the next thing I'm about to say. And his theory about this is because nobody really treasures independence anymore. We don't really hold, as a whole, people don't treasure independence. They want to be led by the hand. They want cradle to grave entitlements, and they don't have to think and all that stuff. And they want to, all that. They want everything, the government to take care of them and all this and that. And they don't really want to be independent. And so what happens is people like you and me have to we're kind of like propping everything up in a lot of ways. And it makes people nervous to think about being out on their own. My own dad, he'll tell you this, he was a cop for 20 years. He's like, Ben, I don't know how you went all those years. I mean, I'm doing okay now, but when I was building all this, I need that paycheck that I know I'm going to get every week. I don't know how you did that. And I guarantee you most people are probably like that. And those of us who try to get out of that situation, it's kind of like nature where you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket. The one crab that tries to get out, the other crabs will pull it back in. And that's kind of how our society is. People are scared of independence, I think. And they're scared of guys like you and me and our colleagues out there doing it because it makes them realize they could do it, but they're just don't have the courage to do it or whatever. They're not believe in themselves. So that's why I think it's going that way.
I think that I have to totally agree with you. And this is something I could literally go off on for hours because this really, it hits home every time I go just out for a beer with friends or anything. It's just, it's a tough one. But if we can, Ben, can we move on to doubts and fears?
Absolutely.
You seem to have like a lot of products for sale. I like to call different things projects and things that I'm building and releasing out to the world. I don't know when the last project or product you created was, but go back to then. And can you tell me what your biggest doubt or fear you had right during the middle of that project? Because I know we all have them.
Well, I've never really been plagued with a lot of doubts and fears because in direct marketing, if you know your market well enough, you pretty much know what they want because you're observing what they're already buying. But to answer your question, my main product is a physical print newsletter about email marketing. And when I was going to launch, when I told my friends about some people in a mastermind group, all very savvy entrepreneurs, they all said, Ben, you can't do that. First of all, who's going to buy a print newsletter about email? Wouldn't you want to deliver it via email? And I understand where they're coming from, but you know what? I had this vision. I'm just going to do it. So I spent like a month and a half launching this thing, pre-launching it, and then I launched it. I was thinking for the size of my list at that time and the price, because it's very high price. It's $97 a month. It's not cheap. I was thinking I'd get 14, 15 people. I would have been, yeah, that's a good foundation. I could have built on that. I ended up getting like 83 people on the launch, and that actually got me out of client work. So had I not been willing to embrace that risk of all that time and energy and maybe ridicule people who thought I wasn't doing it right, I never would have done it. And yet that's really the thing that got me out of having to do client work, which is only one step up from having a job in my mind. I mean, client work is fine, but man, it's basically just a glorified job. After that, I launched this. It was exactly 3 years ago this month. I haven't had to look back since. So I'm kind of glad it happened. Quite frankly, my ego probably helped me because I wanted to prove everybody wrong. So that was good too.
I meant to, Ben, and I forgot, but I was going to preface that question by saying I'm not sure if this will actually apply to you because you seem like a very confident person, and maybe it comes from the direct marketing world, which I think more people should embrace because it definitely teaches you how to sell. And I see a lot of people struggling they have cool ideas and maybe even products, but they lack that nature of selling. And I mean, unless you're in the startup world of just like getting people to hand you money to build stuff, I guess you don't have to sell anything, but for the rest of us, we don't have a business if we're not selling. And it's absolutely essential to know. And I think you really, really have it. So on your blog, it says that there's a FAQ. Do you ever do joint ventures with other people? And it says you do once in a while, but all other unsolicited offers will be ignored and sometimes even laughed at.
You should see some of the offers I get. I mean, they're just silly. You know, people think I'm going to like what somebody brand new will do is they'll say, "Can I interview you?" And then you tell your list about the interview and send them to my site. It's like, I'm not going to build your list for you. It's
all that work you did. Come on, Ben.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I agree. And the more out there you get, like with your business and as your business grows, you get more and more of these offers. And 99.999% of them are completely useless. But every once in a while, somebody impressive does all of a sudden approach you. And it's kind of like, I know with myself, it's always like, I do need to think about this. You know what I mean? Like it's intriguing, or even if I don't have any time or any time that I want to spend on another project at the time, it's still kind of intriguing and stuff. So can you tell me, how do you know when a project is right for you in your business?
I think this is an excellent question. And I'll tell you what, I put a lot of thought into this. I only do joint ventures if they're selling a product that I'm reasonably sure that my list is waking up in the morning worried about the problem that product solves. So for example, there's a guy up there, I think, in your neck of the woods. His name is Danny Innie, or is it Danny Innie?
Oh, yeah. I just met him in the Philippines in March, actually.
Yeah, he's like, it's awesome, man. He has this great way of building a list that, you know, you don't have to spend any money or anything. You have to just spend time and elbow grease. He has a really cool like system that I knew my list would like. So I promoted him, and it was a very successful promotion. But he came to me with that, with a solution to a problem that was there. A lot of people come to joint venture table and they try to, it's like they have a solution looking for a problem, you know, and that's not the position. I don't have to like try to sell people on why they need something. I want to put something in front of them that they already want. And so his was a perfect example. Plus he has like this nice back end thing in place. I mean, he has a really professional setup there. So he just made it very easy. And I've done this with other people. My friend Ryan Levesque. He's a friend and business partner in a venture. We do a consulting deal called Oceans 4. And he sells this thing he calls Survey Funnel. He's a master at like doing these survey funnel things to sell things with. He's in 17 different markets. And some of his clients are like the biggest in those markets, like the golf market, the tennis market, the business funding market, all these weird markets that a lot of people don't even know about too, markets. His product was a great fit for it. I knew there were people on my list who are really asking me all the time, man, how do you set up a funnel and all this? So I just knew going in that would be successful. And lo and behold, apparently my promotion for this product is the highest converting he's ever had, including for people who sell funnel products that he's done joint ventures with and who have way bigger lists than me. It's just because I knew that my list wanted it. And they don't even necessarily tell me they want it very often, but I just knew what they wanted. So it's just, to me, it's like just knowing my list and knowing my market. And I know my list and I know my market because I do communicate with them every day and I get lots of feedback. And so it all kind of works hand in hand.
From outside looking in, you're very, very much not selfish with your list. You just give and give and give. And maybe that would be, I mean, if somebody is approaching you or somebody else's business to set up a joint venture. I mean, joint ventures are amazing for business, right? If they're set up definitely. Properly. But I mean, as you're saying with Danny Iney, is like the best probably way is, I mean, to do it and not be selfish. Like, don't just, well, here's my product, sell it and make me lots of money, right? Like, here's a way it can benefit you. And here's a way that can benefit your customers and your, like, the people that are on your list. Like, that's pretty important. But I don't know why most people seem to just completely ignore that and just me. It's like, well, no, just you can go do that by yourself then.
You're absolutely right. And you know, a big part of that is, does me offering their product to my list make me look good to my list? And if it's not an absolute fit, it's not going to make me look good. I'm like wasting their time. And a guy like Danny came along. He's an audience guy. He likes to build audiences, not just lists. And I thought that was just a really, like, it kind of changed the way I looked at things. So I thought, man, I'm going to share this with my list anyway. Yeah, I'll get paid on it too. Nice. But I would have told them about him anyway, or at least about what he's doing, because it was very fascinating.
I have been a fan of yours for years, since hearing you actually on the Copy Blogger podcast years ago, back when I actually had a job. And I was driving around all the time in this work truck and listening to podcasts, just being like, okay, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this. And now I've been out of it for several years, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I need to thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime I can help in any way liberate somebody from the job world, it's the red letter day. It's great.
That's awesome. So we've talked a lot about your daily email. Can you tell people where they need to go to get onto that list? Because I believe they all should.
Yeah, it's www.bensettle.com. And they can either opt into the list, which is great to get my daily emails, or they can just bypass that and go to my blog where there's like over 1,000 pages of content and over a dozen hours of audio and video stuff. But if they do opt into my list, I will send right away by autoresponder. They'll get the first issue of my email players newsletter in a PDF format. I mean, it's a print newsletter, but obviously that has to be delivered digitally. And there's 24 ways in that issue to use email to make more sales. It's an absolute no-brainer. I've had people tell me that they've made thousands of dollars the first time they used just the stuff in that free issue. So use it, profit from it. Doesn't matter if, you don't have to buy anything. I just want people to use it and profit from it.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Ben. And I really hope you enjoy your Mexican food today and your wine tasting.
I will. I can promise you that.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Well, that was fun. And as Ben's off tasting wine through Oregon, let's get to the hack.
If something happens and it hurts my income, I want it to be my fault. If something happens and my income goes up, I want it just to be, it's not because I had to listen to someone else. I wanted to make my own mistakes and get there on my own, because I really do think that you can't really succeed unless you make a lot of mistakes. And if, in a job, you're punished for making mistakes. In your own business, you're actually rewarded for it if you take the lessons and run with it and take it all to heart.
And that's the hack. So well said, Ben. Absolutely, fully agree with you on that. And I love having the independence of being an entrepreneur, being responsible for myself, taking ownership over my life. And if I want to make more money, I can do that. And if I don't make more money, I got nobody else to blame but myself. And I think that's totally cool. And I think that that's a good way to live. And I hope that with this show, we can inspire some other people to just take that leap. The leap is not as hard as you think it is. And it's absolutely rewarding beyond monetary rewards. It's a good feeling to control your own destiny in that way. So I want to thank you, Ben, for stating that so well. So again, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me on Hack the Entrepreneur. I truly do appreciate it. If you haven't, if you could take the time, hacktheentrepreneur.com/iTunes. I would love a rating and a review. It helps the show so much. It really does. And it allows me to just get cooler, more awesome guests. I already have had some amazing people on. I have some more people scheduled that are really going to blow you away. And yeah, I still want to keep that going. So a review on iTunes, even on your phone, if you got it, just look up Hack the Entrepreneur, leave me a rating and a review, and it'd be so helpful. So thank you. I look forward to next time. And until then, please keep hacking the entrepreneur.